Oh, you need to zoom out. Whoa.
In the top stories, Charlestown secondary student wins ZIZ speech competition, Scotiabank sells operations in Guyana, and Australia appeals after Italy and EU block AstraZeneca vaccines. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today's Friday, the 5th of March, 2021. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, Rishikesh Srinivasa of Charlestown Secondary School is the winner of the ZIZ 60th Anniversary Golden O'Kanes High School Speech Competition. During Thursday night's competition, Srinivasa was able to convince the judges on the topic, making the case for broadcast media radio in a world of emerging technology. After a night of presentations, the Charlestown Secondary School student had surpassed his competitors and was awarded a winner's trophy and 3 books, Make Your Bed by William McCraven, A Promised Land by Barack Obama, and The Making of a National Hero by our very own Sir Kennedy Simmons. The Charlestown Secondary School was also awarded a trophy. Minister of Education, the Honorable John L. Powell, presented the awards and commended the students for their participation while noting a personal experience as a politician which demonstrated the importance of radio.
I can remember going down in an alley through night campaigning and going to an old house which had no electricity, which meant it had no internet, there's no cable television. I knocked and, said, inside, and the old man inside who was blind said, "Who's that, Mr. Powell?" And I said, "Yes, but how you knew it was me?" He said, "Man, I listen to you every day on the radio." That is the importance of radio.
Malika Benjamin of Bastyr High School placed first runner-up, and Tefara Brown of Charles E. Mills Secondary placed second runner-up. ZIZ's 60th anniversary celebrations are being held under the theme Building Our Legacy, ZIZ at 60. 3 bills aimed at strengthening the judicial process in St. Kitts and Nevis were approved by the federal parliament and successfully passed on Thursday, March 4. These include amendments to the Magistrates Court of Procedure Bill, the Criminal Procedures Bill, and the Jury Bill. Attorney General and Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs, the Honorable Vincent Byron Jr., was the mover of the bills. According to Attorney General Byron, the Magistrates Code of Procedures Bill seeks to confer jurisdiction on the Chief Justice to make criminal procedure rules for the Magistrates Court. The Criminal Procedures Bill seeks to confer jurisdiction on the Chief Justice to make procedural rules under the Criminal Procedures Act, and the Jury Bill seeks to provide for alternate jurors. Attorney General Byron also spoke to the establishment of the Criminal Division in the Federation, a proposition made by the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court.
This Criminal Division is intended to provide for the streamlining of procedures within the criminal jurisdiction of the Magistrates Court as well as the High Courts to facilitate greater efficiency in the criminal justice system. In that vein, Mr. Speaker, the introduction of the Criminal Division is intended to reduce backlogs within the criminal justice system and reduce the time persons may have to wait to get a trial. Central to the proper establishment of the Criminal Division, Mr. Speaker, is the implementation of certain criminal procedure rules.
He added that St. Kitts and Nevis is at the stage to move forward with the introduction of the division, and in that vein, a committee was established to review proposed criminal procedure rules. The committee, he said, is led by His Lordship Justice Trevor Ward, QC. Other members include His Worship Reynold Benjamin, Dr. Henry Brown, QC, Simone Ballantyne Thompson, Solicitor General from the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs, Francis Letang, Deputy Court Administrator from the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court, Jason Hamilton, Attorney at Law and Crown Counsel in the Chambers of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Vaughn Woodley. Police officers are better informed about the benefits of the COVID-19 vaccine now that the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force has completed sensitization sessions in all 3 districts. The police force collaborated with the Ministry of Health for the activities which took place this past week. The session for District A was held at the National Emergency Management Agency headquarters. Dr. Cuthbert Sebastian and Dr. Matthias Offrey were the presenters at that event. Dr. Sebastian was also a presenter at the session held at the Dieppe Bay Police Station for District B, along with Dr. Dwayne Archibald. In Nevis, the session was facilitated by Chair of the Nevis COVID-19 Task Force and Medical Officer of Health on the island, Dr. Judy Nisbet. It took place at the Nevis Performing Arts Center. as the participants were drawn not only from the police force but also the St. Kitts and Nevis Defence Force, the Immigration Department, and the St. Kitts and Nevis Fire and Rescue Services. The presenters covered several topics, including the difference between efficacy and effectiveness, how vaccines work, and the various COVID-19 vaccines currently on the market, with a special focus on the AstraZeneca vaccine being administered in the Federation. Several officers have already received the COVID-19 vaccine, including members of the High Command, and many others are scheduled to get vaccinated over the coming days. We now move to news on the regional scene. Guyanese officials are concerned with the sale of Scotiabank Guyana to First Citizens Bank, which is headquartered in Trinidad and Tobago. On Wednesday, Scotiabank issued a media release on its global website announcing that it had reached an agreement for the sale of its banking operations in Guyana. But as Sunil Lala of TTT News tells us, this announcement was not well received by the Guyana government, which called the sale premature and inappropriate.
It's been 3 years after the sale of Scotiabank Guyana to Republic Bank was blocked by the government of Guyana. At the time, the central bank, known as the Bank of Guyana, did not approve the sale, citing several concerns. One of those was the concentration and competition in the market, since the takeover would have given Republic Bank more than 50% of the banking sector. But now it seems that a solid agreement has been made between Scotiabank and First Citizens Bank, which according to Scotiabank's global website is still subject to regulatory approval and customary closing conditions. But the announcement did not sit well with Guyana's senior minister with responsibility for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh. He pointed to Section 12 of the Financial Institutions Act, which stipulates that no financial institution may transfer a whole or substantial part of its operations in Guyana without the prior approval of the Bank of Guyana. Dr. Singh said although the announcement from Scotiabank indicated that the sale agreement is still subject to regulatory approval, he noted that such a revelation of the transaction of this nature was inappropriate considering the laws in Guyana.
We consider it premature to announce a transaction of this nature, particularly given that the regulatory process to consider the request for any such transaction is yet to be initiated, much less to be concluded.
Scotiabank's current operations in Guyana encompasses 4 branches and approximately 180 employees. However, the bank has assured that following its closing, all employees will continue to support the business. It added that until regulatory approvals are obtained and the transaction closes, Scotiabank's operation in Guyana will continue as usual before both banks work together to facilitate a smooth transition for the business. Sonolala, TTT News.
St. Lucia's opposition parliamentarians rolled up their sleeves to get the first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. We hear more in this report.
The wait to be vaccinated is finally over for opposition parliamentarians. On Thursday, they joined members of the legislature who were invited to get their first shot of the COVID-19 vaccine at Parliament Building. The opposition was recently called out by Prime Minister Alan Chasney, who accused them of not leading by example after they indicated that they would wait their turn and allow frontliners, seniors and persons with chronic illnesses to be given priority. Denry North MP and the second deputy leader of the SLP, Sean Edward, who braved his dread of needles, shared his experience with News Force.
But I was able to muster the courage to get it done, and I must say it was not as traumatic as I initially thought. So persons like myself who have that phobia when it comes to needles and hospitals, I must tell you that the experience is not as bad as what you probably conceive in your mind. So I want to take the opportunity to appeal to as many persons as possible to avail themselves to the health officials to take the vaccine. It is necessary given what COVID has done in our country. We've had approximately 20 deaths so far, and I believe the faster we can get the population vaccinated to curb the spread and to bring this under control, the better it will be for our country.
Member of Parliament for Vieux-Fort South, Dr. Kenny Anthony, was on hand to provide some moral support to his colleague.
He's a little hesitant about injections when there are a lot of people who have issues, they have concerns, and there are a lot of people who have concerns about this particular vaccine. So try to calm him a little bit and tell him it's much ado about nothing, and he'll be okay, he'll be fine.
Dr. Anthony falls into the vulnerable COVID-19 group.
People like me lead a very public life, so you have constant engagements with the public, and therefore it's essential that there be a degree of security.
Opposition leader Philip J. Pierre urged those who are hesitant to get the shot to follow the science. He stated that politics should have no place as it concerns the health of the nation.
I think people should follow the science, and do not allow politicians to confuse them. There ought to be no politics in this business. This is about the health of the people. There ought to be no politics. There ought to be no UWP or Labour Party. There ought not to be no yellow and red. And the people who play politics of it, the people who try to get political gain from COVID, should be roundly opposed and castigated. Because this is not a matter of politics. This is people's lives. 39 people have died. There's 39 too many. And we cannot take that as a joke. We have to care for these people. We have to care for the elderly. We have to care for the people with pre-existing conditions. Because this is a serious situation. 39 people have died. And the Labour Party is saying to all St. Lucians, get vaccinated. Because this is the way that we can mitigate against the effects of COVID.
Pierre revealed that all the parliamentarians and candidates of the SLP will be taking the vaccine. The national immunization drive continues on Friday, March 5th in Marigot, Dennery, Micoud, Labrie and Choiseul. Joachim Duplessis, HTS News Force.
Italy's government has blocked the export of an AstraZeneca coronavirus vaccine shipment to Australia, and now Australia is fighting back. It asked the European Commission to review the decision over concerns of a trend towards a protectionist approach to vaccine supply. Al Jazeera's Nicola Gage reports.
Australia's COVID-19 vaccination program began just under a fortnight ago, but it's already behind schedule. And now Italy, supported by the European Commission, has barred the planned export of 250,000 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine to Australia.
This signalling from Europe is very worrying. That they are one of the major manufacturers of these vaccines, and there are many, many countries in the world that will be relying on Europe for their vaccines.
It's the first intervention of its kind designed to crack down on big pharmaceutical companies that fail to deliver on promised supplies. AstraZeneca reduced its pledged doses to the European Union earlier this year, and Italy has blamed its decision to block the Australian-bound vaccines on supply problems, saying Australia is in a stronger position with few COVID-19 cases.
Australia has raised the issue with the European Commission through multiple channels, and in particular we have asked the European Commission to review this decision.
The government says the blocked shipment won't affect its vaccine program. A locally manufactured version of AstraZeneca, made by company CSL, is set to be available later this month, with the aim of producing 1 million doses each week.
It's been very slow to start off with. Only 30,000 people were vaccinated in the first 5 days of the program, but that will ramp up as we get access to more vaccines, when CSL starts producing lots of vaccines, and we start vaccinating in hubs in the community like general practices and pharmacies.
The locally produced doses will provide the backbone of Australia's inoculation program, which officials hope to complete by October. Australia has also committed to helping vaccinate its neighbours in the Pacific. Nicola Gage, Al Jazeera.
And now for the weather. Present weather shows partly cloudy skies with a light breeze of 5 miles per hour from the east-southeast. The temperature for today is 29 degrees Celsius or 84 degrees Fahrenheit. Seas are moderate with waves of 4 to 6 feet. The weather for today and tonight will be partly cloudy with a 30% or low chance of showers. Sunset today will be at 6:18 p.m., sunrise tomorrow at 6:26 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.